Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's another edition of Let's Talk Broncos. Starting at 6:01 instead of 6:05. Down a host. Do the math. That's all I have to say right there. Zach, how are you feeling today, man?
Yeah, I feel great. It's interesting. We lose a piece, and then all of a sudden, maybe not right on time, but 4 minutes earlier, it seems pretty great
LTB Muse is already coming in with the bold predictions. He says,
for
bold
sure.
prediction, Joey leads the crew in laughs. Zach says for sure a minimum of 5 times today, and everyone enjoys my new profile picture. I I think this is pretty correct. He knows this well, or she. Whoever you are, LTB Muse, we're trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I wonder if they gave something away there because I don't know if we announced that Bree was missing this show. It's
Wait,
interesting that Bree
wait,
wasn't
wait.
involved in that comment.
Oh, we are figuring this out. Zach said for sure.
Mm, interesting, interesting.
It's someone behind the scenes. It's Zach Seegers.
It would seem. I mean, if it you know what I gotta say? That comment just horrified me, because I just realized that about myself just now on the show. I was like, "Whoa, I do say that a lot." Oof, that one hit close to home. But
We
yeah, I'm
all
excited for this one. Not this game. I'm a little nervous about. What's up, Victory Lap? What's up, Rock in the chat? Yeah, I'm excited. Let's hope we just see continued improvement, even though this is I feel worse going into this one than I did going into the Steelers one. If I'm being honest, it's scary. It's
really?
rough. Not like about the team. I think the team took a step forward last week, but I think the Bucks are rough. I think the defense offers like a lot of the same problems that the Steelers defense did, and I think their offense is a lot more potent.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get straight into it then, Zach, because that kind of leads me into this next portion, which is just like, what are we watching for? Um, I'm curious why you say that. What about this
On
Bucks
what side?
defense makes it similar to the Steelers in your mind, and like just difficulties for the Broncos?
Yeah, I think now I don't know what Antoine Winfield Jr.'s current status is for this game, but if he's back, that only underlines all these points. But I think they still have some talented pieces. Like Levante David is a little over the hill, but he's still really good. Jamal Dean's a solid corner. They've got a good defensive front. It's not what it used to be like during their Super Bowl run, but it's still a good defensive front. They've hit on some good draft picks with like Yaya Diaby, is a solid edge rusher for them. But really, I think what is special about like their defensive front is Todd Bowles. I don't know how great of a like head coach Todd Bowles ultimately is. I think he's starting to turn a corner here in Tampa. But he is a great defensive schemer, in my opinion. And one thing he's famous for, I think him and Brian Flores especially, are giving young quarterbacks nightmares. They are like the young quarterback destroyers. And like Jaden Daniels ran for a good bit against them, and like hit some Cliff Kingsbury bubble screens against them, but he did not have any success throwing the ball downfield. And I think it might be the same for Bo, just because again, Todd Bowles just historically gives rookie quarterbacks absolute nightmares. And yeah, Antoine Winfield, you throw Antoine Winfield Jr. in that secondary. That's a fine, what's the right word? Doppelganger, or like placeholder for doppelganger's not right, but fill in for Minka Fitzpatrick. I think it's a bit of a bad matchup for the Broncos, or at least for the rookie quarterback.
It definitely is tough in that way. And I also am looking for just like Broncos offense versus Broncos defense, or Todd Bowles versus Bo Nix. I think more specific for what you're talking about, Zach, right there. I think that's important. But is it tougher than the Broncos' first 2 weeks? That's kind of my question, and I would say probably not. So I think we should still see improvements here, especially when I look at that Buccaneers injury report, and it's like, oh, Vita Vea may not play.
Oh, that's game changing if he doesn't play.
Yeah, or Diaby might not play. That's their entire interior.
Yeah, those are the two guys I was thinking of when I was thinking about that defensive line. And then like the one thing they do have, they've taken a lot of draft picks up there, and some of them aren't working out. But they gambled on a lot of athletes, and even though they aren't great, like Logan Hall, Tryon Shoyinka, I don't think they've lived up to their draft status, but they are still amazing athletes on the front. Oh, Kalijah Cansey hasn't participated in practice. William Colston.
Cansey and Vea is what I meant. I didn't mean Diaby. Cansey and Vea were both DNPs today. They did not participate, and it's very much up in the air whether they're going to play.
And then Jamel Dean is a limited participant. Logan Hall is a limited participant. Rashad White, starting running back, limited participant. And yeah, Antoine Winfield Jr. Did not participate also, and he's dealing with a foot, so that's tough to get back from. Yeah, Cansey's dealing with a calf. Vita Vea a knee. That would be game changing. Again, I think Bulls knows how to cook it up, so I wouldn't exhale too deeply if I was in Broncos country. But I think that definitely gives you some optimism, especially like my arguments about the defensive side. In terms of the measurements, you're right. They're not viewed the same as the Steelers or the Seahawks in terms of EPA per play on the ground or through the air. But they are still a really good drop back or pass defense. They're well above average there. They rank like 13th or so. 13th, right on. But their rush defense is where they're fairly weak. They rank 26th there. If you're removing,
Vea,
2-3 good players from that front, and then Antoine Winfield Jr., who's a plus run defender from the safety position, that opens it up only more for maybe this Broncos run game can finally get going.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You mentioned Rashad White being out, or not being out, but possibly being out for this next game. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for the Broncos. I haven't been that impressed with Rashad White.
NFL record holder for worst rushing yards over expectation ever. If you ever go to Next Gen Stats and look at the rushing over expectation leaderboard, any of the last few seasons, I'm telling you, and I don't know this for a fact. I would bet a good bit of money on it. Go for the last few seasons since Rashad White entered the league, go to rushing yards over expectation and sort by like worst to best. And I bet he's right at the top of that list. He's
right. Right. Like I get he's a good he's an okay placeholder for the overall type of running back where he can pass block, he can catch out of the backfield as well. I just think Bucky Irving might be better. I really do. Rookie from Oregon, Bucky Irving, leads that team in rushing yards, Zach, and he has not been receiving the same amount of carries. I don't know if that's good or bad for the Broncos that Rashad White is on that injury report. It's not the best, but I don't know. I think Vea, like you said, being out, if their run defense already struggles, Vea is one of the best run defenders in the league. That's massive. Could you imagine Vea versus Luke Wattenberg, a healthy Vea versus Luke Wattenberg? That's probably not good. It's probably not good. And then even Quinn Miners has been struggling this year, Zach. That has also been an issue. I don't think the Broncos interior could handle a Vea that well. So a healthy Buck teams, I agree with you. I think the Broncos get a massive advantage if some of these players are out for the Bucks this next week. And that's kind of what I'm just looking at. I'm looking at the injury report. That was my big thing on what I wanted to see was how beat up are the Bucks, how much of this actually is the Bucks are hurt, or how much of this is just, hey, we're holding them out of practice, because that's another thing that we see year in and year out. Players that did not participate all of a sudden are limited on that last Thursday practice and are playing for the game. I see it every year. I remember from Mile High Sports, Zach, I had to do the Broncos injury report, and it was hell on earth. It was my least favorite thing I've ever done in my life. And I got
how you did that.
Bro. God damn, that was the worst. I had to write Well, I would write like 1,000 words on the Broncos injury reports. Like, I don't know what you say other than this dude's questionable. I don't like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, tip of the cap to you. I totally forgot that you ever did those. Good stuff. Yeah, you always wrote them well, Joey. So good on you.
Did them every week. Shout out to those. If you guys want to hear about the prior Broncos reports, you can find those.
You want to relive the 2021 season through the Broncos injury report? Go back and read Joey's stuff.
Shout out to Freedom. Shout out to letstalkbroncos.com. Shout out to me not having to ever do that again. Anyways, I think we should get into bold predictions. This is the main part about the show. Should we start with Bree, Zach?
Oh yeah, we got to hit that off the top.
Okay, give us Bree's bold prediction. She's not here today, obviously, and she'll be on KOA tonight.
That's what I thought you meant.
What?
Sorry, keep going.
She'll be on KOA tonight if you guys want to listen to Bree Macis. That's why she's not making the show today. She'll be live with Nick Ferguson, if I am correct there, interviewing the likes of Patrick Surtain, or not Patrick Surtain, Steve Atwater about the Broncos, Matt McChesney about the Buffs. There's some exciting stuff going at KOA, and if you want to hear Bree, make sure you guys are going over there tonight. But what are her bold predictions, Zach?
Her bold prediction, and she didn't clarify this, so I think it's what I assumed it to be. She put in 2, and I was like, okay, I'm assuming it's just the second one here, unless you correct me. Oh, she said yes. Okay, so that's what it is. She is predicting kind of to what we were just talking about a minute ago, and this will let us talk about the Broncos injury report some. Broncos over 100 rushing yards.
I don't know if this is the week I take this bet.
I get that. It feels like if it's going to happen, this would be a really good week for it to happen. How many did they get the first 2 weeks? It was pretty poor, but because
I know
made a good bit to buoy it.
Well, here's the thing. I know Bo Nix leads this team in rushing yards, and it's like 60, and they haven't really even done any quarterback designed runs outside of like one. Like, so that's my thing about that. Here's the other part, though, and this is why I don't know if I'm going to take this bet. The Broncos found some success when they did do that quarterback run, designed run last week. Do you think this is something they build upon? I think it's something they should build upon, right? Especially just like, I don't know. I think it makes it easier for your quarterback if the defense also has to worry about the quarterback in that run game while they're developing. You see it with Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, even the looks they get on defense. And I'm not saying he's that type of runner. I just want it to be in the back of their mind because even the looks, the defensive coverages these teams are running at a Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson makes it a lot simpler in the passing game. It makes it not as tough. I don't know. Give me your take first.
I'm torn. I think this game, you're generally rewarded for betting against people and taking them up on their wagers. But yeah, this is one where I can very easily see it happening. The Broncos had 99 rushing yards against the Seahawks. They had 63 against the Steelers. And we're talking about an offense that's 30th right now in rushing success rate, 25th in rushing EPA. Everyone knows what the Steelers front has to offer. It's maybe the best in the NFL, but even the Seahawks, that's probably a more talented front with Byron Murphy, Draymond Jones, Leonard Williams. Who else? I think there's some other dudes on that line that I'm forgetting right now, but they've got Uchenna Nwosu, I think, is back. No, he wasn't back in that game. Anyways, they've got dudes on that line. They've got a lot of talented players.
You said Owe, right? Jason Owe from Penn State.
No, he's on the Ravens.
Who was it?
Boy Mafe.
He ate us up for lunch.
That's the guy. They have a sneaky, very talented line too. It's not at the Steelers level, but that's probably throwing more. The Seahawks, that is, they're probably throwing more in terms of talent at that Broncos line than Tampa will, even if they get really good luck and Vea plays. there's just so many guys on that report. Like all three of their top three defensive tackles didn't participate in practice today. And then they have another defensive end who's limited participant. And we didn't even mention it. Luke Gadecki coming back from a concussion is potentially massive. This Bucs offensive line, I think, is really, really solid, which is awful news for the Broncos. It's part of the reason I'm scared about that Bucs offense. And yeah, I think if you finally have like the chink in the armor, the defense might be able to exploit that, as opposed to, I mean, Luke Gadecki on the right side, Tristan Wirfs on the left side, Graham Barton in the middle. It's a tough line to pass rush against.
Yeah. So what's your take here? Do you think the Broncos rush for 100 yards or no?
Yeah, sorry. I feel like I got to stay off that one. I'm probably going to end up regretting it. I'm not going to fade Bree. I'm staying away from that.
I think I'm doing the same. I'm staying away from it. I'm not betting on it. I think just with the injuries on this would be the week the Broncos figure out their run game, and hopefully that would build upon for the rest of their season. Something Frankie Abbott of Let's Talk Broncos have been pointing out a lot is just how many missteps this offensive line has had, because it feels like Quinn Miners has so much more responsibility on his plate because they don't have Lloyd Cushenberry anymore. My take on this, and because it's true, you see Quinn like literally doing everything at the line of scrimmage. You really do. From when, hey, this is when you snap the ball, to this is the coverage. Like he's playing your traditional center role at guard in a lot of ways. To me, this feels more of a, hey, this offense has a rookie quarterback and rookie center issue than it is this offensive line is just really bad. That's what it feels like to me. The rookie center matched with rookie quarterback combo, if that is the issue, should be figured out over time and experience.
Yeah.
Especially, go ahead.
Sorry, just adding, like, even though Wattenberg has played a little bit before, I'm just trying to get ahead of any smart ass comments. He effectively is a rookie. He barely has played. I think he's got like 100 snaps to his name, maybe 200 snaps to his name up until now, and those are all at guard pretty much. He's never been responsible for making all the checks at the line. And Cushenberry, like, that was something he was like pretty solid at, especially like that last year before he left. I think that is a decrease. And then also Russell Wilson. I was talking with my dad actually about the Bo Nix thing, and he put it just really well and succinctly. Like, Russell Wilson was the finished product, and like, yeah, it's probably ahead of where Bo Nix, definitely ahead of where Bo Nix is right now. But that was the finished product, and it was only going down. I think one thing he did offer over Nix is 11 years of NFL starting experience. That's going to make, into the right runs, getting everything looking right the right way, pointing out the mic the right way, all that stuff is going to happen much more efficiently with even a guy like Russell Wilson, who I don't think wowed us in that category, but a dude with 11 years of starting experience and a lot of playoff games, 2 Super Bowl starts, is going to lap a rookie in that column.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's a great point, Zach. I haven't even thought about that, because Russell Wilson last year towards the end of the season, it was staggering for how much more control he had at the line of scrimmage than he did at the beginning. Like, it was a massive difference. I hope that is part of Bo Nix's journey as well. Like, you just start to see him have more control there. So, yeah, I just think that having a guy that is so young at center and having a quarterback that is so young, like, that's a time issue, not necessarily a performance issue. Lloyd Cushenberry was awesome in that. And honestly, I think if the Broncos just signed a veteran center, this may not have been such a big issue. To me, more than a Lloyd issue, it's a young center, young quarterback issue. Ultimately, for this one, I can't take it. I can't take this one, Zach. I can't take it either.
It feels like this is their get right game on that front. And I will say, I think the quarterback run game was one of the most promising things of both of the last two starts. I bet they lean a little harder into that, especially knowing like Bowles is going to throw some disgusting garbage at this guy. Like, let's take something off his plate. In the same way, those running plays are physically taxing on a quarterback. That drop back stuff is very mentally taxing, and giving him some plays off by just being like, "Hey, Bo, run forward, get us 4 or 5 yards here." One, it'll help the run game because you're changing the math, you're getting the numbers even. Um, uh, and two, it'll just, I think, maybe give him a little bit of a time to breathe mentally.
Oh, absolutely. We have a question, Zach. Now that we both didn't take Bree's bet, shout out to Bree. Not bold enough.
And that's how the bold prediction game works, Joey. To all your kvetching, hey, no one
Not
wants
bold
it.
enough.
If it's not bold, people pass on it, and there's the jury for you.
We're doing bold predictions here. The name of the show is Bold Predictions. That's the game here. If people aren't providing bold predictions, I don't know what we're doing. Anyways, we have a question here, and I just want to get to it because Atomic's in this chat all the time. Shout out to you, Atomic. He says, do you think O-line or wide receiver is a bigger concern to our team? We are terrible at every offensive position, but which one hurts the most? Do you think O-line or wide receiver is a bigger concern to this team, Zach?
Oh, that's a good question. O-line is the bigger concern to me. I think wide receiver is like the worst position.
Really?
But Lil Jordan Humphrey is like eating a lot of snaps for this team off the practice squad. The Troy Franklin's a healthy scratch 1 week behind a bunch of practice squad receivers. And then, all of a sudden he's getting all these snaps. Devon Villay, when we all found out he was injured, I'm sure everyone in this stream was like, oh God, they lost Devon Villay. That's a 7th round rookie, 235th overall pick rookie. And that was our reaction to it. Point being, this is like a very cheap, like low investment room outside of, I guess, Marvin Mims. Cortland Sutton's probably gone after this season. This wide receiver room is going to be entirely remade over the next year or two, would be my prediction. That's not true with the offensive line. They're pretty pot committed to Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey and, of course, Quinn Miners now. Bowles might be a rotating piece, but 3 of those pieces they are locked into. And now you've got Mike McGlinchey injured, which I failed to mention that earlier, but that's going to be a hard loss for this team, and you now have a big question at tackle.
Massive.
And then the guards continue to, I mean, Ben Powers has never really lived up to that deal the Broncos gave him. And Quinn Miners, since signing that deal, hasn't quite lived up to it. I'm fairly confident Quinn will turn it around. But yeah, it's a very rough start for the offensive line. And that's more concerning to me. They're supposed to be good. That offensive line has the 3rd most guaranteed money. Starting offensive line for the Broncos has the 3rd most guaranteed money, the most potential money on their contracts. And we're talking about a bad offensive line right now. One thing I will say, I think the offensive line metrics are getting dragged down. They're getting sandbagged a bit by, are getting sandbagged a bit. Just by like Bo Nix and then the poor vision from Javonte Williams. If you look at run block win rate and pass block win rate, they're surprisingly, I think they're 14th in pass block and 12th in run block. I might have those flipped, but they're right in like the middle of the pack, if slightly above average, if anything. And our senior offensive line, Bo now is 7th in terms of rate of quarterback created pressure. So he's definitely contributing. And then the Javonte Williams vision stuff, I don't know a metric to track that, but we can all see it for ourselves.
Yeah, we can see it on film. We can see it on film and see it. Yeah, I don't think the running backs nor Bo Nix is doing this group any favors. I'm more worried about the wide receivers, me personally, for just the reasons I said before this. I think the offensive line will slowly start to figure it out with more reps with the center and stuff like that. To me, it feels like Quinn has too big of a role in this right now, and it's kind of screwing up his game. That's my take. And I just think with more reps and more time, the offensive line is going to be able to figure it out. I don't necessarily have an issue with any one of these guys. I think Mike McGlinchey, sure, he's overpaid, but he's fine. Ben Powers is good. I think Wattenberg has been fine. Like, I don't have an issue with any one of these individual players. It's them working as a unit. And for that, I think it figures itself over time in more reps. I'm more worried about the wide receivers because I don't think this group has the talent. Whereas I do think the offensive line does have the talent. So I'm just a lot more worried there because I don't see a path for them figuring it out like I do the Broncos offensive line. I think if this Broncos passing game starts to look a lot better, it's just going to be because Bo Nix looks a lot better. I don't think it's going to be because of the wide receivers. I don't. So that's that answer to that question for me. I think it's wide receivers. Zach, I think it's offensive line. We do have a super chat here, and it's from David Talks Broncos. I was on his Colorado Buffs, his Colorado Buffs channel yesterday, which is David Talks Buffs. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe to that video. Everything like that. Yeah, go ahead.
David Talks Broncos, also my post-game guest for this Sunday.
Oh, amazing.
So, yeah, excited to have him on there. I just wanted to make sure I got that shout out quick before. Yeah, take it away. Sorry, Joey.
Yeah, no worries. He says, any thoughts on the 15-second play calls? What are your thoughts there, Zach?
I think it's, looking into it more and hearing from, I think, more people smarter than me, it sounds like something that maybe Sean Payton could pare down. I said on the last show, like, I think this is kind of standard. Like a lot of these West Coast offenses, which Sean Payton is off that tree, but so is all the Shanahan, McVay stuff. Like that's all and all of their acolytes. All those guys are West Coast offenses that tend to be, I'm the new sketch. All the acolytes. They're all doing wordy offenses. They're all doing wordy play calls. It wasn't, I thought, I forget if it was Frankie or Robbie in our group chat made this point today. And I was like, damn straight. Like Ian Book didn't have a problem with it in New Orleans, like
Robbie
was a 6th round rookie. Like it's not, and frankly, Taysom Hill didn't have a hard time with it. Teddy didn't have a hard time with it. Breeze obviously didn't have a hard time with it. Jameis Winston didn't have a hard time with it. Russell Wilson and Bo Nix have. And maybe like Sean has lost his touch since like his year away from the game. I think he probably could be doing better. I pointed out the Chase Daniels interview yesterday. And yeah, if you listen to his impression of Sean Payton calling a play, I could see how that would be a lot. Maybe he needs to dial it down a bit. But I don't know how much stock I'm putting into it. I think some of it's the quarterback too. And because I don't know, I think a lot of these offenses are wordy, but it's in the middle. Both could be doing better.
Yeah, here's my take on it. It's just that the Broncos have a rookie quarterback paired with Sean Payton. I think a veteran quarterback does pick up Sean Payton's playbook more and just his play calling more. We've all heard from Chase Daniels that it is like sometimes frantic back there, but it's something a veteran quarterback can deal with. And to Zach's point, like when we saw Ian Book play, he had multiple years in that offense. When we saw Jameis Winston play, he was a veteran in the league. All of these other things to make it easier on them. They've seen the NFL and stuff like that. What makes this unique is you have a rookie quarterback from Oregon where they're holding up like fucking signs on the side of the field and the quarterback is reading the play that way. It's completely different, even working a huddle and then paired with Sean Payton, where it probably is a little more confusing than the average offense in a huddle. It's just a tough pairing at the beginning. That's why I'm not as down on this team. I think I've made cases for both the center and quarterback, and then I've also made cases for the quarterback and play caller where it's kind of a youth thing. I do think it's a youth thing, and I think this Broncos offense does see progress as the season goes along, in my opinion. Zach, though, we are 30 minutes into the podcast, and I have no idea what your bold prediction is.
I'm sorry, Joey. I accidentally clicked that comment. My bold prediction. I've been so torn on my bold predictions. There's a lot that so many that I find fun. I'm trying to win the game, though. And for that, I am predicting Riley Moss who's having a nice start to everything through these first 2 weeks. I like what we've seen. Pat Surtain, not as rough as it probably felt on the first broadcast game against the Steelers, but a bit of a down performance. I'm predicting Riley Moss allows a lower passer rating when targeted than Patrick Surtain. For people that might be confused on that metric, you take the quarterback stats for when they're throwing at that corner, you calculate the passer rating, that's your number. Riley Moss is going to have a lower one, meaning a better pass coverage. He'll probably be going up, against those talented Bucs receivers. I'm saying he's going to be doing better than Pat Surtain.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Patrick Surtain's going to be better than Riley Moss. That's my take on the situation.
That's why it's bold.
And then I'm taking you up on this offer immediately. This will be a W in Joey Richards' book at the end of the day. After this podcast, it's going to be amazing. I'm trying to figure out why you would have this take, so let me know.
I'll tell you now. Maybe Mike Evans, kind of gets the DK Metcalf treatment and gets shut down a little in this game. But Mike Evans has looked amazing this year. Super underrated player. Should be a no doubt Hall of Famer in my opinion. Especially with Eli Manning's in there, and we're going to debate whether or not Mike Evans is. It's ridiculous. But he's awesome. He's a great receiver. And I think part of Baker Mayfield's success in Tampa has been realizing, I can just throw the ball up to that guy. Like, and it's a cheat code. It works great for him. Kind of like Gardner Minshew against the Ravens last week, throwing it up to Devontae. He was like, I'm just going to keep throwing to that guy. It seems to be working pretty well for me. They've been showing a more willingness to move PS2 around. I think he'll primarily be on Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is going to be the benefactor of Baker just throwing some stuff up to him. And I think Riley Moss has had a great start to the season. The Bucs have great receivers all around, but Godwin probably working from the slot is going to be on Jaquan McMillan. It'll probably be Riley Moss against what's his name? Jalen McMillan. It's so confusing having the
Jalen McMillan from Washington. Hell of a player.
Yeah. So he'll
hell of a prospect.
Who really liked as a prospect, but PS2 versus Evans, Riley Moss versus Jalen McMillan. That was kind of my thought process there. Maybe some Trey Palmer. They're still playing Trey Palmer some, but I trust Riley Moss. I'm feeling good about what we've seen.
Because of the wide receivers the Bucs have, I don't know if Surtain is traveling this week, because there were instances last week where I didn't see him traveling.
No, they've shown. Sorry, they're not doing it all the time, but I think they've shown more willingness to do it this year than they have in past seasons.
Yes, and Patrick Surtain even did highlight. I can't remember the name of the podcast, but he was on a podcast where he said this year he pretty much insinuated that this year I will be traveling, and no other corner really is doing that. That's why I'm the best corner in the league. Was his take on that. But yeah, I don't know if this is the week. I think this is Patrick Surtain plays a side of the field week, Zach. Last week felt like the week he should probably be traveling. Now, the other part about this is like these teams are so good at scheming. Yeah, if we're sitting at home talking about Patrick Surtain should travel against the Steelers because they have one good wide receiver. What do you think the Steelers are thinking? They definitely know that, and they're moving their wide receiver in places where they don't think Patrick Surtain is going to travel because they're trying to get their wide receiver favorable matchups as well. I think it's the same deal. I don't even know if it really does you any good in this game to have them travel all around. I don't know. I'll take you up on this, Zach. I think Patrick Surtain's going to have a major bounce back game. I don't even think last game he was all that bad. It was just we expected more from the best cornerback in the league type of thing. Still good cornerback play, though. So I'll take you up on this one.
Yeah, I like it. Now, if you're right and Patrick Surtain's just playing one side of the field and the Bucs start spamming, hey, let's throw Mike Evans at Riley Moss, my prediction is going to look real bad really quick, I think. But I'm happy to make this bet. I'm feeling pretty confident.
Jay Money, by the way, been following him on Twitter for a really long time. He has been killing it on Twitter recently. So make sure you're
Great
following him.
breakdowns for real.
Yeah, like really good. So make
You know
sure
the
you're
Twitter
following him. I think it's exactly this is his ad, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure you guys are following him if you're listening to this podcast.
At J Money Steck NFL. The Steck spelled like stick, but with an E. So STECK. J Money Steck NFL. They're worth a follow. He's had some really nice coverage out there.
Absolutely. Here's mine, Zach. Here's my bold prediction for this game. You're going to say it's not bold enough, even if it's the boldest thing in the world. It's unsurprising. Zach's always trying to get an edge in this competition. Zach Seegers, if you've been following the podcast for a while now. I think the Broncos keep the Bucks under 60 rushing yards this game. Give me your thoughts.
Under 60 rushing yards?
That's my thoughts. When Zach looks to the left on the screen, that means he's on the computer looking up some stats. That's what he's doing right now. Look at me in the eyes. I want to see your eyes on the camera. Say yes or no.
You took like 20 minutes before giving a firm answer on Brees. I can't take a second to think. Well, joke's on me because their logo's completely covered. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah, you know what? 60?
60. I said 60. Let me know your thoughts.
I mean, that seems way too low. Like, again, the Broncos against the Steelers had 64. I'm going to, I don't like the Bucks run game.
He's buying time, folks. This is what he's doing right now.
Okay, I'm telling you right now. I'm explaining my answer. I'm taking you on it.
All right.
I like the Broncos' defensive front. I don't like the Bucks' rushing attack. I just think you set the line too low. I guess that's your goal. You're trying to get me on the hook, but I do not see how they hit 60 yards. How they get held under 60 yards. Like the Broncos were thoroughly outmatched against, the Steelers this past week. And like I said, 64 against the Steelers or the Seahawks. The Broncos are one of the worst rush games in the NFL. And through 2 weeks against two really good opponents, they're averaging 80 yards a game. So 60, a little rich. I'm taking it.
So again, I want to remind the entire chat, this is the bold prediction show. So these are all from me, at least, just from Zach's, not so much on a week-to-week basis, whether it be bold predictions or not. But from me, what I'm trying to do is provide bold predictions.
Run the tape back for 30 seconds ago or 2 minutes ago when Joey was like, yeah, no matter what I say, that's going to say it's not bold.
I'm just saying. So anyways, I'm doing the Zach. That's exactly the issue. You're trying to have it both ways. That's what I'm trying to point out right here. But Rachaad White's out. I don't know enough about Bucky Irving. I set you up at the beginning of the show. I think he's a good running back. He did good at Oregon, and he is leading this team in rushing yards right now with a grand total of 84. So I think this bodes well for the Broncos and their run defense this game. I just think the Broncos should do okay in run defense. I think their biggest issue, and if the Broncos lose this game, it's going to be because of their pass coverage. I don't think it's going to be because of their run defense, Zach. I think Baker Mayfield has been really good. I think Chris Godwin's been really good. You even made a take on Patrick Surtain being cooked. You can add him at Zach Seegers. You guys go make sure you go give your takes there. But yeah, so I'm just kind of going off of what you were saying earlier about the passing.
Well, okay. Here's why you're going to be wrong on this one. I think the passing will be a factor, but my thing's about rating. It doesn't matter how many times they're going to throw the ball, and I don't know how many times they're going to be throwing the ball. I think Tampa probably gets a lead fairly early in this game, and it's a negative game script for the Broncos and a positive game script for Tampa, and they're going to be running the ball a lot, which hurts your 60 yards prediction in part. Also hurting it,
no rushing.
Jalen Browning almost definitely out for this game.
That helps the Broncos run defense. I'm just going to throw that out there immediately. Jonah Elliott is a better run defender from what I saw in the first 2 weeks than Baron Browning.
Some of those snaps, but Benito's getting some of those snaps too.
Yeah,
And
but
then
he's
John
gonna
Franklin
hurt.
Myers.
How
John
much
Franklin
better
Myers.
is Browning better at run defense than Nick Benito? Like it's like we're talking about.
I think he's notably better.
I don't know. Both of them in their run defense, they're shooting gaps and chasing down guys. That's their run defense.
I just think Browning's better at it. But either way, okay. The John Franklin Myers, looking like he's probably out.
That hasn't helped their run defense either. They need a bigger body in the interior. Anyways, continue.
That's a fair point. I think okay, fair disputes. Brandon Jones and JL Skinner out, so it's probably DTY at safety. That might leave some extra lanes.
We're passing now. That's what that means.
Ooh, here's the best one though, or like the case against the front looking strong for the Broncos. Zach Allen with a shoulder was limited in practice today.
Limited.
One good guy.
Limited on Wednesday means he's playing. Just talking from the injury report expert here. Limited means he's playing on a Wednesday practice. Too limited means he's playing. That's what that means. And then the team's going to list him as questionable just to fuck with the injury report a little bit. That's what that means. So you're taking me on that one, right?
Oh yeah, I'm taking you. I think we've got. We'll have to see whether or not Bree takes ours, but yeah, we both took each other's. Both passed up Bree's.
All right, cool. Zach, before we sign out here, do you have any parting words, any thoughts you want to give Broncos? Oh, score predictions, actually.
I was about to remind you.
I'm trying to sign out way too early. Give me your score prediction for the Sunday, Zach.
My score prediction, I think the Bucs offense is going to score okay. Let me go 24. I think the defense is gonna, or I think the Broncos offense is gonna really struggle with this Bucs defense. To my point, maybe they can finally get something going on the ground. 24-13 Tampa.
24-13 Tampa. I don't hate that at all. This is gonna sound like I'm copying you, but I'm not. I was gonna go 21-14 with the Bucs as well. I don't know if this is going to be a very high scoring game, in my opinion. Like I mentioned earlier, I think Tampa's going to have a hard time running the ball this next week. And I think it's going to be a lot in the air for them. And I think I'm interested to see this Broncos pass rush tee off. I think this Broncos pass rush has been a lot better than being credited. I think their edge room has improved. I think Zach Allen has been amazing on that interior. I think they're going to make Baker Mayfield's life tough, at least this next week. I don't think it's going to be easy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to score. But then again, the Broncos offense will continue to struggle. This is a tough one. So that's my take there.
I think it's right on. And like, I don't know, even the weak points that I see in this Bucs defense, minus the injuries on the front, but like Zion McCollum, I think is a weak spot right now at corner.
Good last week.
Yeah, he played well last week. And also, like, although there's gaps in his game, and I don't think he's the most refined player, he's a really great athlete, which makes up for a lot of mistakes, especially when you're playing a wildly slow receiving core. He can make all the mistakes he wants and recover all he wants because he's running a 4.2 something out there. And Broncos have maybe a few guys running 4.5s, except for the dozen snaps they give Mims and Franklin. Hopefully Vallee's back. That would give this offense some more juice. But yeah, rough.
LTV Muse says he's predicting 28 Bucs, 18 Broncos. That's rough. Carter's in the chat. Make sure you guys are following Carter Dillon and all his amazing work for Let's Talk Broncos or Let's Talk Buffs. He's amazing. Shout out to everybody who was in the chat today. Make sure you guys are reading Zach's article. He did a stock up, stock down report on letstalkbroncos.com. Make sure you guys are doing that. A ton more to come from us. Like the Buffs page, if you guys are Buffs fans, has been doing really, really, really good. We got a Deion Sanders Jr. retweet today. This account has 150 followers, and Carter's, that dude really should be like a social media manager or something. Shout out to Carter. But until next time, guys, go Broncos.